What is up, you guys? Marty McFly coming at you, bringing you guys the merch. So, sorry for the long delay in video. It's been a crazy couple months. The holiday season is approaching. I'm sure you guys know how that is. So, with my new job, the schedule's pretty nice. 7 days on, 7 days off. You would think in that time I'd find time to do more of these videos, and well, I should be doing more of them. But basically, you take those 7 days off to recover, do what you got to do, because when I put in my 7 days a week, it's 110, 115 hours sometimes. So, those are long work weeks. Anywho, I took the most recent break I had. Now that the holiday season's approaching, might have less time to do fun things. I think with this most recent break I had, I just took it upon myself. I'm like, you know what? We're gonna hop in the car and we're just gonna go for a little miniature East Coast road trip. And by East Coast, I stuck to basically Florida and Georgia. Went to several record stores, 2 of which are in Gainesville. Went to Jacksonville, went to Savannah, and then came down a ways and stuck in the Tampa Clearwater area. So might as well just get started. So the first place I went to was Sunshine Records. That's over in Gainesville, Florida. If I can dig this one out. And it's one of the newest record stores in the state of Florida. This one was just opened up recently by the store owner of Tiger Records. He's also the bassist for the band Bane. So his new record shop is Sunshine Records. It's over in Gainesville, Florida. I went a little, square footage, a pretty small place. But they were able to pack in so much into the store as far as punk, metal, hardcore, jazz, blues, country. I would say maybe even the style of the store is a little bit more catered because Tiger Records, obviously still big on heavy metal, punk, hardcore, things like that. And then a lot of jazz, blues, folk. You'll see old jazz, you'll see oldies in there, you'll see everything, And then I think with Sunshine Records, it's maybe a little bit more catered. So obviously the metal section, punk, hardcore, that's where I gravitate towards. They have a great CD selection, so I was able to pick up some CDs there as well. Their selection for if you're a heavy hitter, man. I mean, I really enjoyed what they had, and I even saw something I never thought I would ever see in the United States. One, because it's hard to get, because this band's from Brazil, and if you're gonna get it online, you're gonna pay a premium for it. So this, of course, is Midnight Priest. This is I hate using the term, but cross between power metal and new wave of British heavy metal. I would say this is the exact same vein as Iron Maiden. You could say a modern take on Iron Maiden because when you listen to their tracks, very clearly you can tell that they're heavily influenced by the bands of that era. Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, maybe a little bit of Motorhead, maybe a little bit of Sabbath, early Sabbath too. But the lead guitar is great guitar work, great clean vocals, great melodies. This is just kind of like a new way to start the band for me because some of the other records they have are really hard to get, and I would say the most recent one's the one I really, really want, the one that they just pressed a couple of years ago. That one you gotta basically get from Brazil. I think some eBay accounts have it, and eventually you just gotta pull the trigger on it. But yeah, I mean, lots of organs, lots of keyboards, but then a really heavy emphasis on the twin lead guitars. Overall, this is a fun record. I even love how nuts the cover is with the car, these guys all duped up in chains. It's a fun listen. I'm not gonna lie. I'm really glad I got it. I'm really glad I was able to find it because if not, then it may be one of those things that I would take forever to actually purchase, and then all of a sudden they're sold out. So, this band's from Brazil, though, heavily influenced by that new wave of British American metal, back on black recording, pressing, which, sometimes I prefer that. Sometimes I prefer just the classic black. I do like covered vinyl. I think covered vinyl's fun. I think it's a fun way to, get more interested in the media, get more interested in the package. The liner notes. I think it's more exciting to see a colored vinyl spinning, but sometimes with classic bands, you just want classic black. So anyway, that was one of my first pickups. I actually got some CDs on there as well. So basically, I got 2 Fates Warning albums that I really wanted, as far as just having on CD, having in the car. Perfect Symmetry being one of them. And then I got One Cent from the Golden Hall by Amon Amarth. Now, it wasn't the repress with the bonus tracks. This is an OG cover. It's in the car right now. Haven't been able to take it out yet. I was pretty surprised to find that. I mean, I know it's not super ultra rare, but it's pretty cool when you can find CDs that are 15, 20, 30 years old, and it's not the repress, it's not the redone versions, remastered. Sometimes it's cool just to listen to the old school versions, so that was pretty cool. So that was our first stop. That was at Sunshine Records. Our next stop was at Here Again Records. Now, Here Again Records in Gainesville has been there for quite a minute. First time I went to go see them was back in 2019, pre-COVID. Glad they're still doing well. The store owner's really cool. I did ask him in advance. I'm like, hey, is it cool if I put this on your channel, on my channel? And I mentioned you guys. He's like, absolutely. So the nice thing about this guy's story is so up to date. Every modern repress that's out right now was in his store. I mean, August Burns Red represses that were like super expensive because they weren't repressed yet. There's only OG copies available. Amorphous represses. I saw everything. So it was really just a kick-ass store to go into. He also had some stuff that I don't see very often. So he actually had most of La Dispute's stuff, which, again, that's not something I see every day. If you see La Dispute, it's going to probably be really expensive. But he did have La Dispute's album that's got King Park, I believe is what the album's called. But anyway, that's the song. That was the first song I heard off that album. He had that in there for a reasonable price. I think, you know, considering how expensive that OG press is, I think he only wanted 35 or 40 for it. I should have picked it up, but I was so busy buying other stuff that I didn't pick it up. Anyway, this is an album that I have in my hands right now, an album that I wanted to get repressed because the OGs were so darn expensive. I'm really glad Relapse Records did, though. They finally put it out, and of course, that's Sonora and Deprivation by Gatecreeper. Really, really love these guys. I would, if you're gonna describe them, I would say a pretty nice mix of like bolt thrower, power trip, hardcore, and death crossover. Maybe a little bit, you know, a little bit of breakdowny stuff. You know, kind of in like the deathcore area. But this is really, if I were going to put these guys in a group, I mean, I'm putting them up there with like Bolt Thrower. That's the first band I think of when I listen to these guys. They did mention that they're kind of influenced by them. They do have some melodic guitar parts. Their lead guitarist, big giant Viking dude, super talented. These guys are actually really good writers. Great songs. You know, his vocals. I hate using the term Cookie Monster vocals, but yeah, I mean, it's that deep growling mixture of screaming type vocal. So I mean, I would say even in the same band like Power Trip, those guys sound like they were bred together almost. I actually got a chance to meet Chase on the last tour that he was on when Gatecreeper toured with Obituary and Municipal Waste. What a heck of a show. I know there's one other band, you'll have to forgive me, I'm forgetting who the first band that came on was, but I really did like that first band that came on. Anyway, this is Sonora and Deprivation. Really happy to have this finally because the OG presses were so expensive. I'm totally okay with getting represses, especially when they come out as beautiful as this. So we have like this like really pretty clear black, gray, and white speckled appearance. It's been a fun listen. I've played it on my record player quite a bit already since I've gotten it. It's nice to be able to not have to resort to Spotify or any of these streaming apps to play your tunes. You know, Spotify, I like the convenience of it, but I will say that the sound quality is absolutely atrocious on Spotify. It's so hyper compressed. You know, I like the sharing capabilities. I like some of the things you can do with it as far as how easy it is to make a playlist. Before that, I was using Amazon's music alternative to Spotify. The sound quality was definitely better, but the app is so riddled with errors and problems that it shuts down all the time. If you let your phone go on close, it'll sometimes shut off the app and you got to restart the app. It is also pretty bad as far as trying to do playlists and doing random shuffles, which I've noticed even with Spotify. The Spotify shuffle thing is still really bad because it'll play the same. I have one playlist that has 350 songs on it. It still plays the same 10 songs at the beginning of the shuffle, even though they're all out of place, but it'll still resort to those, even though they're not the songs I played the most. So it's a little irritating. Amazon MP3 had the same problems. I heard Tidal's pretty good. That's Kanye West's project. I'd be interested to try it, because I did hear that Tidal, if you're a little bit more of an audiophile, a little bit more serious about your music, and especially if you're metalhead, I heard Tidal is actually very good. But I haven't tried it yet. I'm curious to see what you guys think, what you guys are using these days. Anyway, so that was Sonora and Deprivation, part 2 of the Vinyl East Coast road trip. So, without a doubt, one of my favorite record stores in the state of Florida is Tiger Records and Jacksonville Records. It's right, it's in Jacksonville. It's right next to Bold Bean Coffee. It's just such a great place to stop. The place is booming now. The Secret is out. There's so many people that love going there. I'm really glad to see their business is doing well. I got a chance to meet Rick, and then James, of course, the owner, bassist for Bane, who also owns Sunshine Records in Gainesville, Florida. Every time I go in there and end up buying something, it's really a problem. But I've never gone in there and been disappointed. There was still stuff left over, even though they had, with the season and all that stuff, they had so much that you could pick through. Every time I go in there and buy something, they just had their 4th year anniversary sale. Sorry I couldn't make that, but on my way towards my East Coast little mini road trip, just needed to get away, I found this. So this, of course, is The Lost Chapters. This is by Jamie Jasta, lead singer of Hatebreed, lead singer of Kingdom of Sorrow. He's got a bunch of other bands. This is The Lost Chapters. So, best way I can explain this is just Jamie Jasta getting the let out, doing his side stuff whatever he can't put into Hatebreed. And it's good. It's very enjoyable. This is off of his own label, Stillborn Records. This is a 9-track, this is like a 9-track album. He's got 2 others that are just like this that I have on CD, but it was really cool to see the vinyl, especially, with the prices of vinyl and shipping and all that garbage, and then buying from independent online is kind of iffy sometimes, especially if they make you use PayPal, and I try to avoid PayPal at all costs. This is actually a really just fun 9-shot album. I feel like there's a couple songs where he's trying to do clean vocals and he's trying to create melodies, and they're okay. I mean, they're not by far from the best. I think Lost Chapters Part 2 probably had a little bit more meaningful melodies into it. But the first couple of tracks, though, This Is Your Life, Parasitic, The Same Flame, all of those sounded like they could be Hatebreed, hardcore, like crossover songs. Song Chasing Demons has got Howard Jones, formerly of Killswitch Engage. Also formerly of Devil You Know. Now he's in Light the Torch. And, to hear Hojo's voice again on this was pretty cool. I really enjoyed it for what it is. It's 9 songs, no muss, no fuss, no intros, no garbage. And the best part of all is Jamie Jasta signed it himself. The boy himself signed it. Really happy about that. And they wanted it for a good price. It was only $15. So for me, I was ecstatic. I was like, I get a great album. It's $15. And it's quick. It's on bone white vinyl. I was pretty stoked about that. It was a really nice way to start our little trip. And of course, can't play it in the car, but as soon as I bought it, I went out and played it on Spotify as soon as I got in the car. Alright, so this is the album that started it all for me. And it's the running joke in my family, and especially with my brother, but when I was 5 years old, I remember my brother playing this on cassette. He had a white, Cavalier. Yep, white Chevy Cavalier. And after that, he got the Dodge Neon, which was green, no air conditioning. I remember that car well too, but we're in the car, and he puts this on, and this was the album that changed my life as far as music goes, heavy music, wanting to listen to more guitars and just heavier stuff. And I kind of became a little bit more famous in my family and at my school at the time. I was just in preschool, so 4 and 5 years old. I wasn't even in kindergarten yet. Was I? No. Didn't even make it that far yet, and I was at the Base Youth Center as a little kid. And no, I was 5 years old, so I was in kindergarten. Yep, kindergarten. I was in the Base Youth Center, and everybody got to take turns playing their favorite cassettes. And of course, my brother burned me a cassette at the time using the old stereo trick where you have 2 cassette decks next to each other. And he only put 2 tracks on there, which I was kind of like, well, I want all the other tracks too. So I went over his room, 5 o'clock in the early in the morning before we went to kindergarten, and I guess I took his cassette and brought it to school with me. Now, do I remember doing it myself? Not really, but that's apparently what happened. I mean, I was 5 years old. And of course, that was nothing other than Fight for the Rock by Savatage. I was in love with everything about this album, this band. The cover itself made me want to go get it. And of course, my mom was uber against Savatage at the time for whatever reason. Basically, any of that music my mom didn't want me listening to. And I remember my brother picking me up from kindergarten that day, and the teacher apparently told my brother, saying, "Your brother has very interesting taste in music. He listens to some really heavy stuff." This is what they considered to be heavy at that time. Savatage, Fight for the Rock. This is an OG press. I never thought I'd see one of these in the wild, to be honest with you. I got this from, goodness gracious, the record store over there in Savannah, Georgia. I'll think of it eventually. Graveface Records and Obscurities. So, great little record store. They got a bunch of funky, weird, old vintage Halloween cardboard cutout stuff in there. They have some old Halloween, like, plastic things. They have some weird stuff, too. I mean, they have, like, bric-a-brac. They got, like, bones of dead animals, a bunch of crazy stuff going on in there. They have their own record label. They have some great bands on there. Every time I go into Graveface Records, I learn about a new band. That's how I figured out about... That's how I learned about La Dispute. That's how I learned about Touche Amore, the Cloud Nothings. Every time I go to Savannah, I stop in Graveface Records, meet the owner, really great guy. And I learned something new. I learned a different band that I have to immediately go buy. Well, they had this, and they had the newest repress, and of course I had to get the original for $32. It's a little beaten up. It's even got the chip bitten out of there. I think this has got to be one of those promo presses. Oh, sure enough. Yeah. Go figure. It is a promo press, so even cooler. For $32, had to have it. It sounds great. I already played it. There's no chips, bumps, or scratches. It sounds fantastic. But this is the band that started it all for me. I think life would be a little different if I wasn't introduced to metal with these guys. Anyway, Savatage, Fight for the Rock. Absolutely incredible. Off of Atlantic Records. The song that got me into this band, you know, Fight for the Rock was #1, and then I heard Crying for Love. Now, I know some people didn't like this album as much because it was a little bit more, a couple of songs were a little bit more glam, a little bit more lovey-dovey. You know, you had songs like Out on the Streets, Day After Day, which is a cover song, Crying for Love. Out on the Streets they've reused on other albums. I think that was the one they used on Sirens. But then you have songs like The Edge of Midnight, Hide, Wishing Well, Red Light Paradise. You know, a little bit more reminiscent of some of their heavier stuff. But this was the record that did it all for me. I absolutely love this record. I get some people maybe didn't like it because it had a little bit of a, I don't know, glammy side to it, but I really didn't think so. I think it's still a dark, beautiful melodic record, and it's heavy as hell sometimes. So if you haven't checked it out, these are the guys. These are guys that ruined and corrupted me. So I was going to save this for a different video, but we might as well include it now. This was another band that I discovered kind of by accident. Went to a show at the Orpheum over in Tampa at the new location. Now, can't really say I care for the new Orpheum location. It's cool that they have the outside deck. I think that's a lot of fun. The sound quality is way better than the inside setup. The inside setup is just, it's a classic, dingy, old metal bar where wallpaper's peeling, and, you know, it smells terrible, but it's still a fun place to be, and it's loud as shit. This band I found out about by accident. Immediately had to pick up everything I could get my hands on by these guys. And when I found out they were coming out with a new record this year, I immediately pounced on it, pre-ordered the vinyl, pre-ordered the CD. You guys have heard me talk about them before. This is Vctms Volume 5. This is the Hurt Collection. Absolutely fantastic new addition to just heavy metal, heavy music, hardcore, melodic hardcore in general. I would not put these guys in the metalcore area because they're just not. I wouldn't put them in the deathcore, but I would say they're the closest to a deathcore band with a little bit of melody and some female vocals. This is the band that's pretty much led by Meredith. She's the drummer for the band. She's done everything. She's been she's the OG of this band. She's the drummer. She does clean vocals here and there. They're responsible for like a little bit of like this hip hop influence. It's not rappy. It's not, you know, it's nothing like that. But you can tell there's like a little bit of electronic hip hop influence in some of their songs. She's actually got a very good voice. The girl actually has cystic fibrosis, and for a girl to be able to drum, go across the country and tour all the time, and the toll it takes on your body to tour, this girl, I'm assuming, has her own air nebulizer kit, her own inhaler regimen that she has to do before and after shows. But I mean, it's absolutely incredible that this girl can do what she can do. The lead singer, John's a really cool guy. I've met him both times. I've been to their shows. It was kind of cool just to be able to talk shop, and they signed a couple things for me. This is going to be the new force, I think, to be reckoned with, I think, in the heavy world, because these guys are finally making a really big name for themselves. They're still not signed to a record label, so everything they do on their own. When you buy a vinyl, when you buy a CD, when you buy a t-shirt, you're going to get a letter from, you're going to get a package from Meredith herself, which is pretty cool. I can't recommend this enough. I think this is the more... It's hard to explain, because Volume 4 was... I didn't think they were ever going to be able to top it. I loved Volume 4. That was my favorite record, especially when it came out. I played it all last year when I saw Vctms for the first time. Now Vctms came back to Tampa. I got to see them again. And I think this is a close contender, if not better than Volume 4. But it's hard. They're right next to it. I think they're both so good. I don't want to put one above the other. They're both fantastic albums. They do a lot of guest vocals. So even in this case, we got Taylor Barber from Left to Suffer, Elijah Witt of Cane Hill, Life for 91 of Orphan, Jack Burgeon of Void of Vision, John Doe 87 of Orphan. So a lot of backup vocalists that help out with the band. I think John, the lead singer, he does mostly just screaming. He did have a couple moments where he's getting a little bit more with melodic screaming. Meredith does a little bit of everything while she's drumming. And you can even hear now she's starting to sing a lot more. Very emotional, very melodic, very melancholic. Absolutely just a fun album. Even the last couple of songs, I mean, Ghost Pains, Displacement, The Hurt Collection featuring Kaylee Wolf of Rivals. It's just such a fun record. I put it right next to Volume 4. I'm really glad they came out with it. If you can support these guys, buy a t-shirt, if you like them, buy the record, buy the vinyl, buy the CD. Notable song, I will say right off the bat, Twist the Rage was like a big single for them, but the song that did it all, that immediately just said this is a new force to be reckoned with in the heavy metal world, is the song Burn Victim. There is a breakdown towards the end of the song that is going to give you the gnarliest, nastiest stank face in your entire life. I mean, I would say the breakdown itself maybe a little bit reminiscent of I don't want to say, maybe like a little bit of Nails, and there's one other band that's escaping me that Vctms has been on tour with. Goodness gracious. Their motto is Deep South Violence. It's going to drive me nuts. I'll post it in the thing below, because right now they're, the lead singer, Tyler, really cool guy. Met him a bunch of times. He lives right here, and he lives not too far from here. Anyway, you know exactly what I'm talking about. They have their orange prison shirts that say Deep South Violence on it. It's got the map of Florida on it. Anyway, so I would say it's very reminiscent of what those guys are playing, but the breakdown's just heavy, nasty, ultimate stank face. Can't recommend enough. This is Vctms Volume 5. Currently not signed to a record label. For not being signed, these guys are really talented, and I can't wait to see what they do next. Anyway, that's it for me. A little bit of a longer video, but 22-23 minutes, still a good time either way. So, I got a couple of the videos coming out probably this week. I'm just gonna click submit and send them out, get them started with you guys. I wanted to do something for Halloween this year, just because Halloween just came by so quick. It's my favorite holiday. There's so many things you can do with it, especially with the YouTube channel. Everybody else is doing their own Halloween thing, but I'm curious what you guys think. Do you guys get melancholic when Halloween is over, or do you guys prefer Christmas? Do you guys prefer no holidays? Kind of curious to see what you guys think. Halloween's my favorite holiday, and I wish I had done something more with YouTube this year for it. Maybe I still will. Maybe I'll talk about the post-Halloween blues. Anyway, that's it from me, you guys. This is Marty McFly with the Headbangers Ballroom. Peace.